Hello and very warm welcome, dear students and colleagues. Today we are going to discuss narrative analysis, how much it is important in linguistics. It is a key branch of linguistics that examines how we create and interpret stories. It explores the structures, elements, and functions of narrative and how they reflect human experiences and cultural understanding. So, narrative analysis is not only about the creation of narratives but also interpreting of narratives with respect to linguistics and the language used into it. So, that is why the topic is going to be very much important. Let us try to define it. Narrative analysis, the narrative especially, is a sequence of events organized in a meaningful way that unfolds over time. It involves characters, action, setting, and a plot that drives the story forward. So from here we can take a clue. What is a narrative? Narrative is number of things. That is the sequence of events first of all, and those events which are organized in a meaningful way, and then these events open or unfold themselves, and it contains the action and role of the characters and other items as well, and that is why it becomes very significant in many ways. And same is the case with the role of narrative in the language. For example, narrative shape our understanding of the world, guide our behavior, and create shared cultural identities. They are fundamental to human communication and social interaction. Again, the matter of communication is important, that if you want to convey something through language, it has to be meaningful, it has to be effective, and in order to make that, we need a very good kind of narrative based on all these previous things. So, that is the narrative and its role in narrative analysis. In order to know this perspective, let us see how it goes on. For example, first of all, the narrative analysis happens because of the first person. Most of the time, the writers would like to use the first person, I or we, in order to give a story type of narrative by telling the narrator is I. And then comes the second person also. This type of narrative is mostly used in those type of fictions or the narratives where something is to be taught and the audience to be targeted. Same is the case with the third person. That has been most traditionally used way of perspective, that he or she is used and or they is used, and it is meant that one is the looking at the story, looking at the characters, and seeing how this is going to happen. That is omnipresence. The narrator knows everything about the character and event, even their thoughts and the feeling. So here the character becomes even more important, and that important is because of his great knowledge of the plot, of the story, of the place, of the events, of the characters, and all these things go together in order to mention that. So these are some of the narrative perspectives with which the story is told. Then there are two important things, that is the sequentiality and temporality. I mean, what is the kind of order used in the story? For this purpose, we see that first of all, it is the chronological order. That the events or the story should be unfolding with respect to some described line of events or the timing, that what is happening first, what is happening back. And this is totally sequential, and that is why it is more linear. However, if we talk about the flashback narratives are concerned with the past events, and that type of narrative will definitely waver from this to that place, because sometime one event will be remembered, at the other time another event can be talked about. Then is another one thing that is called flash forward. It means that the narrative will be trying to look what is the future event possibly, and that future event possibly we can event and we can see. Then comes the non-linear storytelling. Non-linear storytelling means that there is no sequence, there is no time sequence. The person goes to talk about again and again whatever is coming to the mind of that person. The story may begin in the middle, story may begin in the end, or the story may start with that, and one event may be looking like giving birth to another event. So in that way, the temporality and sequentiality of the narratives continues. And then comes the narrative identity and self representation. I mean, one needs to see what is the type of narrative, what the writer is willing to do. For this purpose, first of all, is the personal narrative. That means that the stories which we tell about ourselves to shape our identity and how we are perceived by others. That's personal stories, definitely, and we are trying to tell with our own point of view because we want to establish a particular identity, particular way of thinking. Then comes the cultural narratives, the stories shared within the culture. I mean, every nation, every people, every type of people have some culture, and this culture is mostly based on the values, beliefs, and other shared experiences. These are mentioned, and then therefore we can say that these are the cultural narratives. And after that, we can also, in our analysis, take care of the autobiography, whether it is the kind of biography which is being told by one person who is writing that biography, and that is why it is being done with respect to that. And ultimately comes the memoir. Memoir is the kind of narrative where the reality of the life of a person is portrayed, but in a fictionalized manner, and that therefore becomes a memoir. So these kind of or the types of narratives can be used in order to discover the identity and the self-representation of the people. There are some cultural and societal influence on the narratives also, that is to be seen in the narrative analysis too, and that is that there are some social norms, some social values, some other things are coming again and again, and we therefore continue with the social discovery of these social norms, social values, and the beliefs, and therefore the narrative can be discovered in that way. And ultimately comes the historical context. Narratives cannot be built most of the time without the history. The history is the most important kind of thing which shapes the narratives of the people. That is why historical events and circumstances are most of the time important to build the narrative. And then comes the cultural traditions. We have lots of cultural traditions besides the beliefs, that there are some conventions, some traditions, and these cultural narratives can be used in that regard. And then comes another type of influence from the society about the narrative, and that influence is regarding the gender, the race, and the class, that some stories may be told with respect to these three things, that is gender, race, and class. And in that way, we have different influences because of which the narratives are built, and these influences in our narrative analysis must be taken care of, must be discovered as well. Now, how we can apply this narrative analysis to real world context? First of all, media narratives. We can see that we have around us media in different shapes, that is film, that's the other form of media that is happening around us, and we should look into that. What is the kind of narrative they are building? What are the societal influences? What are the cultural beliefs being reflected? And how the identity of the people and the problematic things are being associated with that. Then are the personal communications. There are some other type of narratives also through which we try to build our relationship with the people, and we share our experiences with the people and create a sense of community. These narratives are also very much important, and when we analyze, we need to see how the personal communication has been established to establish a relation or to share an experience or to become a type of community. Then comes education and research. There are also narratives about this. We teach the people, and people learn from us, and therefore we can able to explore some of the complex issues of the in our surrounding, and these issues therefore become important while we analyze the narratives. So to analyze the narratives, these things become very significant. That is media narratives, personal communications, and education and research. We can now conclude and see how the narrative analysis can be very useful in the future as well. Narrative analysis is a vibrant and evolving field of research that continues to uncover new heights, new insights about human communication, culture, and identity. Future directions include exploring the role of technology in narrative, studying the impact of globalization on storytelling, and developing new methodologies for analyzing complex narratives. I shall be only talking here about one, the inclusion of technology. You see, these days we are experiencing the short stories, the novels, the books, and being written by AI, artificial intelligence, and same is the case with the other narratives which are being built with respect to that. So, machine is going to bring a new dimension to our narrative analysis, but then the AI type of parameters will have to be considered in order to understand those narratives. So, that's a new development. Hope to work on this development in some next video. I also hope you like this one, and therefore do not fail to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and to give your brief comment if it is possible somewhere. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in some next video.